What is up, guys? So today I'm starting my Alice in Wonderland dress. This is the pattern that I'm using. This is a slightly older one. The reason I chose this one was mostly because I had it. The only thing that I'm really going to use is actually the bodice and sleeve, and I'm going to raise the neckline. Now the reason I chose this one was because it had the basic bodice shape that I wanted. So let's flip to the technical side. So the bodice is a front and a back. It has the darts at the waist and the large poofy sleeves. And like I said, the only thing I need to do is raise the neckline, but that's really easy to do. And it is a size 16, which is about 4 inches too big in the bust, about 2 inches too big in the waist, and the hip doesn't matter at this point. But it's a really easy pattern to alter. I'll just take it in at the sides, so I'll show you how I do that too. Now I have found this blue slightly striped cotton bedding, and I've pre-washed it and sanitized it, and yeah, I cut the elasticated top. This is the corner where it goes around the corner of the bed, so I just sliced that, and I have my sleeve all laid out. So I'm going to cut out the sleeve, then I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut out the bodice and get to sewing. So I cut out the bodice, and you can see here I cut the neckline pretty accurate towards the shoulders and then dipped it down to create a little bit of a crew neck. Now this is not going to be a perfect neckline, but we will fix it later when we try on the whole bodice. I cut the front of the bodice on the fold and then the back of the bodice into 2 separate pieces because we will install a zipper later. And then I marked all of the darts with chalk, as you can see here. From there, I sewed up all the darts, sewed the shoulders and side seams together, taking an inch off of the side seams, and then I installed a zipper and serged everything together. The zipper I left dangling towards the bottom of the waist, and ironed it to be a lap zipper so that we could try it on. Alright, so I installed a lapped zipper so I could try it on, and it's fitting pretty okay. I did take an extra I took an extra inch off of both the sides, and the sides are sitting pretty on the side. So creative. But the bust darts are a little bit out, so my apex is about here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just going to push the dart seam in, and then just do a top stitch down and secure it in place. So while it's on me, I'm going to put a couple pins in very carefully. And then as for these wrinkles up here, this is just because the neckline is a little high. So I'm going to find my clavicle, my collarbones. I'm going to mark there so I know how high I want that to go. It's still a little baggy here, but I'm honestly, well, let's see. First things first, the shoulders are too wide, so I'm gonna mark the rest of my shoulder there. This is gonna be where the sleeve gets inset, and then I'll just measure from here to here and transfer it on this side. Then I think once that comes in, that will kind of take care of the gapping here. So I'm pretty happy with that. The waist is a little big, but I have a lot of friends wear my costumes, so I'm gonna leave the waist, and then also the apron will take in the waist a little, so I am pretty content with that. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to top stitch these lines down. I'm going to transfer the shoulder marking, and yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Here you can see I am top stitching down the new darts that we made by pushing in the old darts to take it in. And here I am measuring the distance from my neck to the crest of the shoulder that I marked in the fitting, and transferring that to the other shoulder so that they are equal on both sides. And this is going to give us the new line of where we need to set in the sleeves on the shoulders. Then here I am taking a curve spooler or a French curve and drawing the new neckline so it sits to be a true crew neck on me. And then I just go back and I serge this neckline to stop the edges from fraying. Then I just serged the edges to stop it from fraying, and I'll show you how I draped a collar on it later. Here you can see I'm taking the remainder of my fabric. I cut the corners where the fitted sheet was sewn up, and I am basically making a rectangle skirt. So I will need 3 rectangles. The entire length needs to be at least
so I just
twice
folded
my
the
waist.
last of what I had fabric-wise in half so that I could have 2 pieces. As you saw just a second ago, this piece was on this corner and I chopped it off. This was the corner where the sheet came together for the fitted sheet. And then I have 2 of these pieces left, and I'm going to make pockets out of these. This shorter front piece will be gathered down to become the front half of the dress with side seam pockets. Then this back piece I'm going to split in half, and that will be the back of the skirt. I'm basically making a rectangle skirt. I won't be going into full details about how to make a rectangle skirt because it's pretty simple and there's lots of tutorials online if you have any questions. Alright, so here we have the pocket. The last thing I did was flip everything of the pocket towards the front of the skirt and serge it all down. Now we have beautiful pockets to hold cookies or biscuits or all sorts of Wonderland goodies. Alright, so I have just serged along the top, the back of the longer panel, which will be the center back of the skirt, and the bottom hem. So now I'm going to take a basting stitch, and I'm going to baste along the top edge of the skirt by the waistband. That way we can gather it down.
I left the back of the skirt open and gathered it down, making sure to match up the ends of the long rectangle with the ends by the zipper on the bodice. Here you can see I am sewing in the skirt to the bodice. I matched up the side seams on the skirt to the side seams on the bodice, and the back seam of the skirt to the back opening by the zipper on the bodice. Then, once the entire skirt was sewn on, I sewed down the rest of the zipper into the skirt, and then top stitched it down and closed up the back seam of the skirt, completing the body portion of the dress.
Alright, so I gathered the bottom and top edge of the sleeves, with most of the gather being at the top of the shoulder, sewed up the side seams, and now I'm going to set the sleeves into the dress. So I pinned in the sleeve, lining up the side seam under the arm with the side seam of the sleeve, and you can see I massaged the gathers so that it's mostly at the top of the sleeve here by the shoulder seam, and then so there's no gathers along the underarm. That's really going to help poof out to give that really girly look. And then the sleeves all gathered here. I gathered more towards the side of the arm than the inside. So let's go sew this. Alright, so I am actually going to take this cute little eyelet lace dress that already has these cute little straps and some pockets, and as you can see I'm slicing it down the side, lining and all, and then on this side there's a zipper, so I'm going to rip out the zipper and save it for later. And I'm actually going to turn one half of this into my apron, and then I'm going to decorate it with lots of lace and stuff. That way it's like super easy, super quick, and super adorable. And I chose this one because it already has such nice texture to it. I didn't want completely flat. I mean, you guys know at this point that I really like texture in my dresses, so yeah, I'm going to cut that apart. I'm also going to cut it at the center seam here, that way I can get 2 aprons out of it, and I'm going to attach some cute ribbons to make it crisscross tie in the back. So here you can see I serged the new waistline, and then what I did is I took some of this cute white and gold ribbon. I think I'm going to do white and gold accents on the dress. And I shoved it in between the 2 layers and pinned it, and then I'm just going to serge down the side seam to finish it up. That way when I turn the dress right side out, this will act as the waistband to tie the bow in the back. So I'll go do that and show you what I mean. Alright, so I tried it on, and I kind of behind my back roughly figured out placement for the loops to keep the shoulder straps. To make these shoulder straps, I simply shoved the edges of the ribbon into the apron straps that were already there and stitched across the opening, concealing all raw edges inside. From there, I played around with appliques and trims by simply pinning it onto the mannequin until I found a design I liked. To be quite honest, I ripped this all out the night before and redid it to something that I was much happier with in true Nicole fashion. Then to make the collar, I draped some muslin onto my dress and drew out the collar shape that I wanted. I wanted it to be one whole piece, so I draped it to be one half of the pattern, and then I just placed the pattern on the fold and added seam allowance. And here you can see I took the same fabric as the apron to make the collar, and I cut 2 pieces, sewed them together right sides together, and then I flipped them right side out, leaving the back of the collar open, which I then sewed down as I sewed the collar to the dress using a top stitch. I also went back and added appliques by hand sewing them on. Then, to make the cufflinks for the sleeves, I measured my arm and cut a rectangle out of the hem of the remaining fabric that was my arm circumference plus 1 inch, and then sewed up that seam. Then I placed that inside the sleeve with the raw edge poking out, sewed it all the way around the cuff, and then flipped the cuff out and then flipped it over all of our raw edges to hide it, and secured it down with a running stitch. This hides all of our seams and raw edges very nicely and gives a very cute childlike look. And last but not least, I hemmed the skirt with a 1/4 inch rolled hem, and it was done. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys found this tutorial helpful, consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing for more tutorials. And remember, cosplay is all about having fun. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!